Going back 30 plus, well, about 30 years here in the early 80s. I'm going back into my middle school days, and I was always planned on going to Lutheran High School, so as a middle school kid you start attending some games and watching the high school you're going to, and lo and behold, the rivalry between Lutheran High School and Denver Christian, which had begun actually decades before that, was well in full swing. So I had a chance to see Coach in action from the sidelines as a young middle school kid. His teams always came out, and it was always Lutheran High had to come out and play their A game that night, or they were going to go home with a loss. I always had such an admiration for him, even from a young age, about how he conducted himself. And even though they were our rivals, I couldn't really hate him.
My first interaction with Coach Katte actually came through the athletic director realm. I transitioned into the athletic director in January of 1999. At that stage, he's already a legend, and now even more so as he retires. And so it was just, honestly, just a privilege to be able to do that. And it was neat to be able to have a person like that to watch and see, you know, here's a guy who's done it for years and been successful and just done it the right way.
My first real recollection of Coach Katte was when I first started out coaching in the Metropolitan League in 1993. Our first game against Denver Christian was over at Denver Christian. And I was a pretty volatile 27-year-old, 28-year-old, and there was a foul call, and it went against Kent Denver, and I stood up and I yelled something at the referee, and at a timeout, the referee, an older guy, came up and got in my face and said, "Listen, rookie, do you know who you're coaching against? Do you know who that man is? Now you sit down, you shut your mouth, and you learn something from that guy on the other bench." And I think at that point I knew that this guy was a pretty special guy.
I met Coach Katte probably in my first year of coaching at Clear Creek High School in 1970. He was probably in his 30th year at Denver Christian, I don't know, but he's such a brilliant guy on the floor, and we probably played each other, I would say 60 times, and I won twice.
As a player on his very first varsity team, I remember Coach Katte got his first technical in the first game he ever played defending me. We were in Lyman, and there was a ball that was going out of bounds, and in those days Lyman had a little box of a gym, and they had two lines. They had an out of bounds line, and then inside of that 3 feet they had a dotted line. I went to save a basketball and stepped over the dotted line. The referee across the gym called me out of bounds. Coach stood up and stomped his foot and said no, and the referee gave him a technical for that. And then I will remember that all my life because he was defending me.
The funnest thing was a game at our place in the early 90s, and there was a call at his end of the floor. I'll never forget this. It's probably the worst ever block charge call in the history of basketball, and it went our way, and I looked down at the bench to see what Dick was going to do, and he stood up like he never stands up, you know. And then he walks out of his coaching box, and I'm going, uh-oh. Then now he's at the scorer's table right next to me, and then he's in our box, and then he's chasing this referee down into our wrestling room, and I said, uh-oh. And so this referee, whoever it was, says, "Coach, I got to give you a technical." And so Dick got a technical, which he never gets. And then on the way back to his bench, he says, "That was fun, that was worth it." And he went and sat down. We finished the game.
Well, when we played for him, it was more like his way or the highway. I mean, he was intimidating. He's just pushing the right buttons. He knew when a kid needed that, and he also knew when to put his arm around a kid, sit him down and talk to him.
He's really calm. In his calmness, he's also intense. He expects the maximum out of every one of us.
They've worked hard to prepare for us. We've worked hard now. Let's go out there. Hey, have a good one. Good. Good.
After playing for Coach Katte, I really got into Coach Wooden, Coach John Wooden, and read his book, They Call Me Coach, and began to see similarities in the philosophies. And then I watched them both grow and be respected. Their players would come back to them for advice. And when their players talked about them, they talked about them with love and affection. Those are the same things that we think about when we talk about Dick Katte.
Certainly a consummate professional, very much so a respect for the game, and I just think, you know, a love for kids, and that came through obviously with his own kids, but you know, you'd see him even in his interaction with other players, you know, opponents and those kinds of things. It's certainly just a love for young people and a desire to have a positive impact on their lives.
I was always hoping that I would get to play under Coach Katte. My brother's played under Coach Katte, and Coach Katte has been there since my sister was in college, so I've always wanted that chance.
It's been amazing to see what he's done for the Denver Christian community. My wife's uncle has played for him, his dad played for him, my brother-in-law has played for him. So it's pretty cool to see how many generations he's touched and kind of had his hands in. And I just think it's been amazing what he's done for the Denver Christian community.
I've seen him play a lot, and it's always been team basketball. I remember watching the 05-06 state championships, and they played together so well as a team. And I think he emphasizes that a lot still.
Best memory I have to have would have been our senior year in the semifinal game of the state tournament. We were down by 7 points with like 52 seconds. And it was kind of that same thing, you know, never give up, never stop working until the game's end. We got a couple steals and quick threes and ended up coming back and winning the game. That game memory is probably the best because it really resembled, I think, our team, and what Coach Katte always taught is, you know, make sure you do finish and don't stop until the whistle blows and the game's done.
Hey, let's finish good now. Here we go. Good.
Finish, finish, finish. You hear that all the time during practice, during games. He's always wanting you to finish, but I think we can take that away from just basketball, and we want to finish in everything we're doing. I mean, he wants us, I'm pretty sure he wants us to all go to college. He wants us to finish through that. He wants us to finish high school. He wants us to finish in life.
One of the ways that we can really find about what a person, what a man is really made of, is not when things are going well, not when the winning streak's going on. It's when hard times hit. His behavior, his character didn't change a bit. He was gracious in defeat as he was in victory. Sports is maybe one of the best laboratories that we have in our society for life lessons.
Stay with them. Stay with
The
them.
intensity of the game, the sacrifice we need to make, handling adversity.
Keep it up. Up, up, up. Are we up? Up, up. Up. Let's go.
He's taught us how to be leaders, not only on the court, but like in the classroom and things like that. He's taught us what it's going to take after basketball.
Way to go! Way to go! Do I have to draw it, or are you okay? Yeah, you're good with it?
So he's an educator first and foremost. And so there's no question that he inspires countless number of student athletes, just like he did with his students in the classroom. If you run a school and you're hiring teachers, the intangible that you're going to look for is someone that can inspire. That's what Dick has brought to everything that he's done.
He's done a lot of great things on the basketball court. What he's given back to the community, the Denver Christian community, and the community of Denver will really be his legacy.
These players for 48 years that he's coached, how many of them are going to be future coaches? Those future coaches now are going to be coaching how they were coached. And now that legacy starts multiplying and multiplying, because now these players who played under Coach Katte are now going to be coaching, and then probably coaching a lot of the same ways he did.
I have 6 children. 4 of them are coaches. And I think it has a lot to do with what Coach Katte's philosophy and coaching and life and what are valuable things to learn. I think that's going to have an effect beyond even when he's gone.
One of my favorite stories that I've heard comes from the former coach at Princeton, Pete Carrill. And I read this story, and when I think of Coach Katte, I think of this story of Pete Carrill. A couple of years ago, well, I guess it was pretty long time, it was in the 90s, and Pete Carrill was having a great season, another 20-win season for Princeton, and there was about 2 weeks left, and one of the reporters came up to him and said, "How would you define the success of this team compared to other teams?" And Coach Carrill said, you know what, ask me that question in 20 years. And the reporter said, no, I don't think you heard me right. He goes, I heard you right. He said, you come ask me in 20 years about the success of this team, because in 20 years, these young men, if they're successful fathers, husbands, doctors, lawyers, teachers, etc., then I will have known that it was a successful season. Then I will have known that I've done my job. And that epitomizes Coach Katte.
My focus is always on you and how you play that game. Let's play it the way we know how.
How does God use an obedient servant? Because I feel like he served for 48 years. I saw him doing that. It wasn't about him, it was about the kids he's coaching and having an impact for our Lord. And I'm amazed at just that recent story that ran in the Denver Post just a few weeks ago. That one man stepping out in faith and being obedient to what he's been called to like that can bring this to our entire world. And one of the pictures that really stood out to me that I was amazed that was printed in full, I believe it's actually in color in the Denver Post. And it's a focus on the banner in the gym. It says, "To God be the glory." And I said, wow, that was really neat. I mean, you don't see those words in a newspaper, maybe ever. And here it was giving this great rundown of this wonderful coach who's won so many games, and of course the world doesn't understand that, but those words just jumped out to me, "To God be the glory." And I think really in essence, if you had to boil down his career from what I saw, that was clearly evident. That was really his mission statement.